And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Sometimes a game shows up and I look at the box cover and I'm like, I am playing that game. Other times it shows up, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. And I'm sorry, it is Ivion or Ivion, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. That was one of those games. I got this and I was like, oh, I open it up, saw the cards, like, oh, okay. It just didn't really excite me that much, and frankly, the only reason it's getting reviewed as quickly as it has been here is because I got a lot of emails and other messages saying, this is a really great game, you should check it out. Yeah, okay, but if I was walking through the store, I might have passed it by, especially when I heard that the theme is, hey, you're picking one person fighting another person using a deck of cards. Oh, well, I've definitely seen that before. Well, have you seen it before? This game might offer something different. That's what people told me. Let's find out. The first thing you're going to do in this game is you're going to build your deck. Now there are 12 different specializations here. And so you're going to pick one of those specializations. You have Watcher, Survivalist, Wilder, Curseblade, Ancient, Incarnate, Avatar, Ebon Mage, Steward, Huntsman, Winterborn, and Jarl. So for my deck that I'm showing here a little bit, I'm going to pick Ancient. Now when you pick Ancient, you're going to have a deck of cards that you get with it, and you're also going to get a passive ultimate ability. This is going to go in front of you. The rest of the cards you're going to be able to pick a deck from. You then are going to pick two classes here. Now one of them has to match one of the colors on the bottom of your specialization. These are both red, so I have to take Giant. Alright, so I'm going to take Giant, a deck of cards with Giant, and then I can pick anything I want for my second one, so I'll take Witch. I'll be a Giant Ancient Witch, okay? Now, once you do that, you're going to build your deck, and you basically can put any number of cards you want. 15 cards will come from your specialization, and 30 cards will come from your two classes. And you're going to be shuffling these together. So you'll see I have a few Witch cards in there, but most of my cards are red. You're also going to be going through a feat deck, and there are different feats that you can pick here. So you can pick any feats that you want. You're going to be able to pick two of them, and they have to match the number of colored dots that you have. So this requires that I have 2 red dots in front of me among my cards, and this one requires 3 black dots. So I couldn't use a Doom Bolt because I only have 2 black dots amongst the two classes and the specialization that I picked. So I'm just going to pick 2 of them. So I'll pick, for example, Giant Heart and Cry of the Flock. So these two, plus your passive, are going to go in front of you. These are abilities that you can use all the time during the course of the game, or at least when they make sense or work out. And then everything else will be shuffled, and you have your deck to be ready to play the game. You're going to be playing on a 4x4 board here, and you're going to be moving around and attacking each other. The board is made up of terrain cards, which can be flipped into difficult terrain, and so there's some things about that. But before we talk about any of that, I want to talk about dice in this game. Dice in this game are not used to roll. Instead, dice in this game are going to be keeping track of different resources. So you're going to have a certain number of actions, 3 actions that you can spend per turn. So you have a die to keep track of that, and you also have a die here to keep track of your power. So these 2 are here. These other 3 dice, the red, the blue, and the green die, are called control dice. You can often do things to your opponent to add these control tokens to them. So that's going to either slow them down, silence, or disarm them. And this will show the extent of that. Now they're going to be able to spend actions to reduce these to 0 on their turn. But if you have these in front of you on your turn, you're not going to be able to play all your cards. So this card here I can play no matter what, this Bumble here. But to grab, I can't do that if I've been disarmed at all. This one here, Rummage, I can't do that if I've been silenced. Some of them have multiples on them. So the more symbols they have on them, the harder they are to play, and your opponent can stop you from playing a lot of cards by using these control, by basically casting control on you. Like for example, this grab can slow for a target enemy. So when I play that on my opponent, it's going to add 4 to their slow, which is going to take them a lot of actions to get rid of that. When you play cards, they're also going to cost you or gain you or lose you power. So this one costs 2 actions and gains me 2 power. This one costs 1 action and gains me 1 power. This one costs 1 action and loses 2 power. So you have to keep an eye on your power. Almost all the cards will cost you some sort of actions, although not all of them. You see this one here is this giant strength is a 0, but the power up and down is going to change. This raise here costs 5 power. So to do that, I'm going to have to play some cards that are going to give me power over the course of the game. On a player's turn, they're going to draw a card from their deck. You're going to start with some cards in your hand, and then you'll have 3 actions. You're going to gain 3 actions that you will add to your thing, and you don't have to spend all your actions each turn. You also get an initiative chip, which you can use on your turn to move an extra space or draw a card. Now, you players will take these actions. It costs an action to move, so moving around is going to cost you. You can also basically spend actions and or power to get rid of control that's been put on you. But most of what you're going to be doing is playing cards. So hopefully you've built your deck properly, because some cards are going to let you move around, attach to yourself, and do things. And other cards are going to be just straight up attacks, like this swat away. When you do an attack card, they're going to have a range. So this swat away, they have to be 1 away. You'll do 2 damage to them and then travel them up to 1 tile away from you. So there's all sorts of different cards that can do different things. You can destroy other players' cards or remove a terrain token, then heal yourself 3 victory points. And players will have dice where they'll be keeping track of their hit points. When you take your character, you're going to look at there's going to be a life on your ultimate ability. There's going to be that's how many life points that you have. Getting the other person down to 0 is how you win the game. And like I said, there's things that can change stuff into difficult terrain where it costs an extra resource, which is power or action, to move into. And that's basically the game itself. I mean, there's a lot more depth into the game, obviously, by moving around. There's some cards that are interrupt cards that you can play responding to somebody else, but you're just going to be fighting in this arena of sorts. All right, well, here's where we run into problems. This game, I'm just not really happy with the production. I already mentioned I wasn't a big fan of the box cover. The insert itself, you can keep all your cards in it. They have them standing up, which is not a way I like my cards, but it's just really easy. You're going to have to go through and sort these cards out all the time. It's not so easy to see what card everything comes with. I really dislike this board. That is a hideous, ugly thing. This game needs a board with, squares you can move around. And I get that there's difficult terrain and not. I'd rather there just be squares and you add a token if there's difficult terrain, because this just looks not very good. There's an alternate set of cards here where the forest, this looks a little better, but it still looks like a mess. The standees are not that easy to, they're okay. So the cards themselves, these I have less of a problem with. I really like, and this is the Druid here, right? The artwork is fine. It's your typical fantasy artwork. But the symbology on the cards is very well done. And at the bottom, I don't mind it. Like I said, you can see the controls. It tells you exactly what it does. There's a little bit of flavor text, but for the most part, it's just telling you exactly what things do. And I found that I did not have to look things up very often. So that's the Druid cards I just looked at. Let's take a look at one of the specializations here. We got the Steward. And just going through, and you can see it has kind of a Game of Thrones fantasy style vibe to it, and I like this. Now, what's a little bit more difficult is building your deck. The rule book itself comes with 2 decks, and you can build these decks exactly, but that's it. You're gonna have to kind of figure out which cards to put in your deck, and you're gonna have to go through you're gonna have to learn it pretty quickly. It's gonna take a while to figure out how many attack cards should you put in your deck. The game rules themselves are okay. They teach you the game concepts, then do game setup, and I just think these could have been better written, the rules. They're not totally unclear, but they just could have been a little bit better written. We had to keep going to them. I should mention at this point, I forgot about talking about these passive skills. You can play these on your turn too. Basically, you can do them once per turn as long as you can afford them and do them, and they basically go away but then come back to your passive zone. So this is the kind of game where I think you build a deck and then you play with this deck for a while, because it's going to take you a bit to learn how to use it. But the components themselves they're okay. So this one here is a bit of a mixed bag for me. I want to start out by saying I actually really like the gameplay itself, and I really like the customization that this game offers. The being able to pick one of those specializations and pick 2 classes, so you have 12 times 6 times 5, and then divided by 2 or whatever. There's a lot of different things. And then once you have that combo, then you pick the cards from your deck. So that's really fun. And then picking your feats, there's just tons of combinations, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more classes and more specializations coming to make the near infinite combos. That's one of this game's strengths, but also a strong weakness of it, because building a deck is not an obvious thing. And I kind of wish it had just come with 6 pre-made decks already in there, and you play with them for a while, then it'll say, now that you play with these, go learn and build some more. I think that would have been a better start. And in fact, I think a lot of the things, like I like the dice, they're nice and shiny in this game. The tokens and the board are okay. This game needs a second edition badly, because the game itself is pretty well done. I'm very impressed with the moving around. The giant is slow, but if he gets you, he's going to smash you. So that the control system here is brilliant. It's really well done. There's so many games that have this slow the other person or wound them or silence them, and they're like a token you put on the person, you can't cast spells. Here, that using the die, and I have 3 control tokens, well, I need to get those off, and you can keep messing with your opponent and slowing them down and getting back and then hitting them. That's a really cool concept, and being able to get rid of control is a big deal. You got to think about that when you're building your deck, but also putting it on your opponent, and then also leaving those cards in there. Oh wow, like I said, that customization, I think again, it's a great strength of the game, but it's just not very new player friendly. You're going to get in this game, and I think a lot of people are going to go oh, what am I doing? What's going on? And that coupled with the fact that it doesn't look very good. And honestly, those 2 things have to knock it down from what might have been an excellent game to merely, this is a very good game. It is a good game. It takes that whole 2 people fighting each other and manages to make the classes and the different things feel extremely different. I haven't played every combo, not close to every combo, but I haven't played every specialization or class in here, but I've played a lot of them or played against a lot of them, and they're very unique and different. That's fantastic, and you can even make them more unique and different. Like that sample deck I showed you, I didn't even play with that one. A giant witch, I didn't think giant witch would work. I think I made him a giant and Yarrow, I forget what I did, but I mixed different things together because I thought the giant would be a fun thing to play. The giant is, but he is slow, and you can have the other person run rings around you. That's kind of cool. Yes, you're on a 4x4 grid, but that 4x4 grid, you have to move around, try to stay apart from the other guy, or maybe get in close. That's what the giant wants to do. Or the witch just constantly controlling your opponent so they can't do anything, and then cast spells on them. That's a neat idea. So this is what I would consider to be a unique take on the genre, unique addition to gaming in general. Just wish the packaging was prettier. But I think a lot of people who like 2-player games will like this. Obviously, it already has a bit of a cult following since all the people asked me to take a look at it. And it doesn't take a long time to play. We're talking 30-minute games. It takes longer for you to build your deck. I do think if once you build the deck, you should keep that deck for a while and just keep playing that one. That's what I would do. I would have, again, 6 pre-made decks in here, and then let's learn these and play with these. Maybe tweak them, add a card in or out as time goes by. Like, oh man, I wish I had some more movement cards. Great, add some more movement cards in there. So, cool idea. That's Ivion. Who knows? Dice Tower Judgment approved.